All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here on a Tuesday. We're going to get started and jump in. We're just going to look at some of the HPE small business storage solutions out there because although HPE, plays in that big space and we've been covering those larger solutions the past couple weeks, they do a nice job in the small space too. So we don't want to forget about those SMB customers, limited budget, smaller needs. Want to make sure I touch on a bunch of storage options for them. I am going to be jumping around, so please, if you have a question, um, you can always take yourself off mute and go ahead and give it an ask. I have no problem with that, and I actually welcome the engagement. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Maybe. There we go. So we looked at the storage portfolio, I think a couple weeks ago. And basically today we're going to be looking at the MSA and the Electra 5000. We covered the B10000 a couple weeks ago, and then the XP, I don't really cover. Just know that it's there for the non-stock end of the business. But honestly, if I see one of these requested a year, it would be a lot. And I often tell customers, if you do have an opportunity that's as large as an XP, there are HP teams that live and breathe it. Because although I've been through extensive training in XP, if you don't use it all the time, you lose that knowledge. So again, not going to cover that here. Just know that's for the very high-end nonstop platforms. All right, so let's go ahead and start with MSA. And I was surprised how many slides I had for it actually. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So current generation of MSA is Gen 7. Now Gen 6 is still around. It's still selling, but Gen 7 is our newest offering. And really the MSA across the board is simple, fast, and affordable. So for your customers, what I like to say is the MSA is a set it and forget it array. For those customers like a dental office, somebody using it for a backup target, a media repository, departmental shared storage, maybe even a retail outlet, right? They're going to set it up. They're not growing like gangbusters. They're not moving data around. They just want something reliable, a workhorse. The MSA is a perfect fit for them. So the set it and forget it tagline, that's what I always say to customers when they're looking for MSA. It's a good performer. It's reliable. It gets you where you need to go. Okay. Now the MSA I'm going to show you a little later on is sold as a la carte, meaning we can build it, or we have these new Smart Choice bundles. I'm going to highlight a couple of the Smart Choice bundles that we stock at Ingram. They come prepackaged with flash disks or spinning disks, and they're actually a very good price. So those are our selling motions for MSA. You can still build them a la carte and build whatever you want, or there's some packaged bundles at this point. Again, the Gen 6 and Gen 7 models are available. You can still buy either option. Okay, so it's easy setup. You've got an MSA health check. We'll talk a little bit about that. Now the MSA Gen 7 is actually twice the IOPS of the Gen 6. So if you are looking for MSA and you are entertaining flash, then Gen 7 is probably going to be your lead, or at least it would be mine, right, for both the IOPS as well as the throughput performance. Okay. Let's see, affordability, we talked about that. When you buy drives, you should buy them in 6-packs. They're super great. Priced most of them out myself, and it's like buying 5 and getting one for free. So they're really good economics behind those bundles. Now here's your MSA lineup. We've got our 2070 or 2072. Right? These are the models that are performance optimized. Again, these are double the performance of what these models down here in the Gen 6s were. Now the Gen 6 had an itty bitty model, right? The MSA 1060, and this was purely a price play, right? They throttled down the performance. It was very economical. They decided on the Gen 7, since that was going to be a performance driven, they were not going to offer that 1000 unit. So you're going to see some trail off when we move up to the Gen 7s. Again, all of these models, it's made the portfolio quite big actually, are still available and ready to ship. Now, what's my most common question? A customer buys a 2062 and they get it and unpackage it and like, oh my God, this isn't what I bought. It's a 2060. There's no such thing as a 2072 or a 2062. They are 2070s or 2060s respectively. HP has bundled them with 2 flash drives and with what they call the advanced data services licensing, which opens up some functionality. So again, if you're going to go ahead and propose the 2062 or the 2070, just keep in mind it is a bundle of options in the box, and that's when you open it. You know what I mean? Just be like, it's probably my most common question post sale on that model. All right. Favorite feature with Gen 6 and Gen 7 is MSA DP Plus. If you are a traditional MSA customer and you bought it prior to Gen 6, or you bought Gen 6 or Gen 7 with less than 12 drives, you know when you set up a RAID set, if you want to grow, you've got to set up another RAID set. And it does pool all the capacity together, but think about that. If I buy 6 drives and I put them in a RAID 6, in order to grow, I have to buy 6 more drives and put them in a RAID 6. In order to grow, I got to buy 6 more drives and put in a RAID 6, right? That is, you weigh that and go, okay, maybe it works for me, but maybe I've got better out there. So if I were looking at the 2.4 terabyte drives and I only needed 6 of them, maybe instead I'd go with 12 of the 1.2s. That's my minimum disk size for my DP Plus. Now, of course, I can get bigger on my drive quantities, but my minimum, which is what catches people, is 12. So what does it do? It virtualizes the disks. It breaks them down into segments, right? And it allows those segments to act as individual drives. So if I have drive 6 here fail, and this is just a small subset, of course you'd get, hundreds of different segments, but this is, you got to make a picture digestible. If drive 6 fails, the purple one will go over to this drive, the green one will go over to that drive, the orange one, every segment of the drive will be rebuilt separately, so it's almost instantaneous, right? That array is not going to feel downgraded as far as performance goes. Where if I have a traditional RAID group and I lose a drive, right, I'm going to be running at degraded performance until I replace that drive. So this is quicker performance overall because I'm using many spindles. If I want to grow, I can add 1 drive at a time. How attractive is that? In an entry-level array, being able to add capacity at 1 drive at a time is super attractive, in my opinion, right? You don't need to recreate the wheel and go, well, how many disks did you buy it with? Okay, we got to sell you that many more. No, heck no. Just sell them 1 drive or 2 drives, depending on how much capacity. You're going to add them to the array, and it's going to go ahead and wide stripe your data across those new disks, and it's going to free up capacity overall in that volume, right? So it's a really great RAID set, and what I encourage you to do is when you're selling, especially your spinning disks, you really want to meet that minimum of 12 drives in order to take advantage of such a cool technology that, again, was brought into play with our Gen 6 line. Another cool thing about the MSA is it does automatic tiering. So I have the ability with SSD to use it as a cache tier, right? It can just be if I have heavy reads and I just need a little extra space on my controller, it'll go ahead and it'll buffer those reads and it'll just give me that ability. But I also have the ability instead, and it's an either or, to do a performance tier. I could have a little bit of cache. Maybe I just do a couple, like on my 2062 or my 2072 of 1.92 terabyte drives. They're mirrored together in a RAID 1. And then my standard pool has, let's say, 12 2.4 terabyte drives. Well, that performance tier is going to take all those hot blocks, right? I'm even going to be able to go in and I'm going to be able to set preferences and priorities for my volume. Oh, you know what? This one, I always want it on the performance tier. Now, of course, depending on how much SSD capacity you have, you don't want to do that with every volume, but maybe you have like a database. Then you're like, I always want to pin this here, right? This automatic tiering is inherent in the product. It does it automatically. If you turn it on, that's what it's going to do. How do you turn it on? You buy the advanced data tiering license. Okay, so we talked about the 2062, we talked about the 2072. They came with 2 flash drives. They also came with that advanced data tiering license, right? With that bundle. I can also buy it separately and I can buy it later if I bought a 2062, or excuse me, a 2060 or a 2070. So I can go ahead and buy it with, or I can buy it later. And that'll enable me to go ahead and have this auto tiering capability. Again, works very well. HP's even got some best practices on their website of how much capacity do you want to put behind each pool, but kind of a neat technology in an entry-level array like this, especially if your customer's on a tight budget, because it allows just a minimum of 2 SSDs to pick up that fast performance on those volumes that they really, really want to accelerate. Snapshots. Everybody has snapshots. I just want to say me too. So the MSA, you're setting up your array, your customer buys their array. What's the first thing you want to do? You want to protect your data. Go in and turn on snapshots. Get them scheduled for every day this week. Do them a few times a day. What's the biggest cause for error? Human error, fat fingering, deleting things, right? And then also let's try to protect them against ransomware, right? So let's go ahead in and let's set up the snapshots as our, hey, I created my volume comes my next step is snapshot data protection, right? It does help. You always should use it. They're not going to be long term, but definitely for temporary restores and stuff like that, until they get their data backed up, they should be leveraging that snapshot. Health check. This is kind of a cool feature. Basically, you can go ahead and download a log file, upload it, and HP will give you a bunch of reports talking about what needs to be done in your array, reviewing the errors that might have happened, just overall health of the MSA. This is a really cool, maybe looking at your drives, if you have some drives that are having some issue, or report on the issues they're having, or on an SSD if there's some integrity there that's missing from your drive. So this is a really cool functionality that's easy to use and quick, and you basically just upload that log file and away you go. All right. People always ask me, hey, where do I go to get support detail on my MSA? Now, Ingram's always here to help you navigate, always. But compatibility for your MSA is in a tool called SPOC, right? Single point of connectivity. All right, that's what that stands for. I am, not Star Trek, but single point of connectivity. So compatibility. So customers will call me, and again, we're always happy to help you. But if you go into SPOC, the link's right here. You'll use your partner portal login. What I do is I go right here in the middle. I don't go anywhere else. I could, but I don't. You can navigate. There's tons of information in here. I come down here to this plus sign, which is to the left of the MSA, and it breaks me out this big box. It shows me all the MSAs in here. You even see really old ones, right? But if I'm looking at a 2072, I'm looking at fiber channel. I come across, here's all my operating systems and hypervisors. I click on my little check mark here, right? And I can pull up my VMware vSphere. Now I just chose that one. It's an easy one to choose because it's a popular question. Say I'm running 8. 9's out there too now. 7's out there as well. But I chose 8. Now if I want to say, what's one of my most popular questions? Can I do direct attach? Can I take an MSA? Can I have 2 servers or 4 servers and put fiber channel HBAs in them and not use a switch? And my answer is, let's go see. So I'm running VMware, I'm running version 8. What's my HBA? Now this PDF is many pages. I just took a snapshot. But let's say you're running the Emulex SN6010 E2P, right? You can even look at HP's part number over here, or if you bought it from Emulex, there's the Emulex model, right? So you can do HPE, you could do Emulex, no problem. Okay, we know that this is a 32 gig, right? And it's 2P, meaning 2 port. So if I keep coming across firmware, boot support with this firmware, direct connect, yes. Okay, so that's my most common question that I go into SPOC for is, hey, can I do direct connect connections to my MSA? So that is a yes right there. So now you can feel comfortable. Okay, I can go away. I have this firmware version. As long as I have that installed, I could do direct attach. Now you'll see there'll be the same HBA over and over again in all the firmware versions listed that are supported. And you will find some no's, I promise you. I just happen to get lucky with my snippet here where there's all yeses. But that's my MSA hidden treasure right there. Is SPOC is going to give us all compatibility. In addition to that, it's going to give you compatibility for the B10000. If you've been here for the past couple of weeks, we've talked about the B10000. It's going to give you connectivity now for the Electra 5000, 6000. They've pulled all the Nimble array architectures into this tool. It's all a one-stop shop, which personally I love because I don't have to scour InfoSite and SPOC. Now I can just go to SPOC and I have everything at my fingertips. So I just want to call that out because when you're supporting customers, it's so important to know that there's resources out there. You don't have to go into a recommendation guessing. There's some concrete, and then you can even export this and send it to a customer if you want to. Oh, here's all the HBAs. Which one you got? Okay. All right, Ninja Online. Ninja Online is an online tool. Okay, you can go in and you can size your array. So here's the link for the Ninja Online portfolio. There's an MSA specific one you can click on. And when you click in there, you can kind of navigate through. This is step 3 of 3. I didn't know how many pictures I should include here, but I thought this was great because it showed me, okay, I built a standard pool. I have 12 drives in it. It's 2.74 terabyte drives I picked. I'm running MSA DP Plus because you know me, I would, right? I have 12 drives and my usable capacity is 17.42 terabytes, right? I can change kilobytes to terabytes right up here if I want to, but all in all, this gives me a good visual of what's going on in my array as far as my capacity. And when I'm doing an MSA, that's my number one goal, is to make sure I'm hitting a customer's capacity. Now, this also can be exported, right? You can save it. Ninja Online, a great tool. Again, I use it most for capacity. They also have some performance numbers in there. There's a multitude of different sections you can go in. You can add a different tier. You can add a tier of flash. You can add a tier of 7200 RPM nearline disks. You can go in here and you can hang out and build a bunch of different scenarios. But you can see I have the 2070 chosen with the 25 gig iSCSI connectivity and then the small form factor disk. You see all these options up here, right? I can do TAA with my MSA. I can have fully encrypted drives. I can use the Smart Choice bundles. I can do Gen 6, right? So really, it's kind of a one-stop shop for my sizing needs. All right, we talked about bundles. Let's look at the first half up here so I didn't have to dissect it, pretend like these tape libraries are not there. But the MSA 2070, there's two flash models. One's an iSCSI, one's a fiber channel. You can see it comes with some optics. It comes with 12 1.92 terabyte drives. This one's fiber channel, right? It's going to come again with some optics. It's going to come with 12 1.92 drives. These are priced exceptionally well. Then there's the 2062, right? These are actually going to come with spinning disks. So you can go ahead and look at what 2060, excuse me. You can look at which one you're looking for, see if any of these fit your needs to get you started, or you can go ahead and build them up from the scratch, right? So you can definitely do that. There's a link down here at the bottom. It gives you all the Smart Choice options. So these are just the ones we've chosen to stock. There are a multitude more. So if there's one you really like, we can go ahead and put it on order. The Smart Choice options are there to be quick and easy for you to go ahead and order them. All right, I'm going to jump into the Electra 5000. So the MSA, again, great set it and forget it array, right? It's a workhorse, right? You're going to set it up, it's going to go, 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 and you're not going to have to worry about it. But what if your customer is a type of customer that has that tight budget, but they need some expandability, they need some dynamicness. They want to be able to click a button and have it do things for them, right? They want to have it automatically feed up their insights into InfoSight so HP can proactively monitor the array, right? That cloud-esque management ease, right? The Electra 5000 is where they can begin. So a tight budget, but they have the aspirations to be more of a mid-range array into enterprise features. The Electra 5000 will allow us to do that. I have a little less slides on this, but let's go ahead and talk about it because this is based on Nimble DNA, right? So for anybody on the phone that sold Nimble before, this is going to give you all of that goodness and you're going to love it and it's going to be just as easy and it's just going to be just as dynamic, right? So it's built on Nimble DNA. So why would I want to jump here? Well, price is still a sticking point, but my customer is adding different volumes and different virtual machines often, maybe a couple a month, right? They want a little bit of more flexibility, a little more ease when they go ahead and add on their VMs, right? This is going to give them a little more dynamicness. Maybe they're moving data around. Maybe they want a deeper array replication capability. The Electra 5000 is really going to bring that on board for them, right? What else is it going to bring on board for them? It's going to bring dedupe and compression, right? Our MSA is what it is. It's a great array, but it's an entry-level array, right? There's no compaction in there. With the Electra 5000, not only am I going to get compression for my databases, I'm also going to get deduplication for my files. So it's going to look at my files and it's going to go ahead and deduplicate and it's going to minimize how many times something's saved, right? And save my my space that way. It's going to look at those databases and apply the algorithms and shrink my data down to the smallest footprint that possibly can go on the array, right? So it's going to give me that. It's also going to come with a 6 nines availability. So HP is saying 6 nines of availability, and if I don't meet that, then I'm going to compensate you, Mr. Customer, in some fashion. Okay, it's AI driven. What does that mean? That means that millions of different sensor points are going to go up to HPE all day long. They're going to aggregate, they're going to machine learn, they're going to bounce off one another, and they're gonna go ahead and support your array that way. What do I mean by that? Well, let's get you a couple examples. Let's say I go out and I want to do an upgrade. Upgrades are going to be real easy with Nimble, right? And you're going to see an upgrade and you're not going to be able to click on it. You're going to be like, darn it, why am I not getting an upgrade? Because HPE thought, ooh, I looked at all the parameters in your environment, it's not appropriate for you. So let's take a deeper example. There's a major hypervisor a few years back, right? And they updated some firmware. So HP had to update their iSCSI driver. And what happened to the customer that first launched that? Their performance went, they tanked, right? So they called HPE. HP helped them bounce back to a different version, and then they took all the log files and they went to the hypervisor and said, "Hey, listen, FYI, this is probably a problem." The hypervisor said, "No, it's not." So HP did a little more digging. They correlated all the Nimble arrays around the world, and they said, "Okay, all these arrays, we're going to block you from getting this update." And then they stepped back to the hypervisor and said, "Listen, this is a problem. We've tested it. This is an issue. Here's your log files." And guess what? The hypervisor said, "Okay, we'll fix it." So a few weeks later, they came out with a fix. But think about the outages they prevented because they were so proactive in their monitoring. They aggregated all that data, they compared it, right? They educated themselves on it, and they said, okay, for these 150 customers that meet the same parameters as this customer did, I'm going to prevent that from happening. So that kind of AI, that kind of insight, that kind of proactiveness was built into the Electra series overall, and that's something that did happen. It was probably more than a couple years ago now. I'm getting older as we talk here, but Electra 5000 is easy to use. The UI, but so is the MSA, but the UI is very intuitive. But there's just easy to click, a little more dynamicness with the 5000. Okay. Now, where does the 5000 fit? The 5000, in my opinion, fits for general purpose workloads where your customer might have a lot of data, but only a percentage of it is really used, right? And let me show you what I'm talking about. Well, let's go into the series first. So I start out with my 5010, which is my entry model. There's also a 5010H, which is a half pop model. So if you really have a tight budget, but you're really looking for that nimble awesomeness, we can go ahead and start you at that entry point. The 5030 gives me a little more beef, gives me a little more scale, and then the 5050 is highly scalable, right, and a little more connectivity on both of those upper end models. But basically, it's the same architecture across the board. Your scale and your performance just increase because of the controllers. Now, drive layout. Okay, so I've got 24 drive bays. Okay, these 3 drive bays are specific to my SSD drives. I put them in. There's 2 here, 2 here, 2 here for a total of 6. I have to fill all 6. The other 21 drive bays are hard drives. They're spinning disks. They're the slower ones, right? So there are 21 hard drives, and they have an 18 plus 3 triple parity RAID, right? So one goes down, I still have the ability to lose 2 more. So that's pretty robust, pretty resilient. Now my cache drives are just a pool of cache storage, right? Those are going to be my fast tier. So let's look at that a little different, a little quick here. I forgot this has animation in it. Let me try to get through that without bouncing to my next slide. Okay. So let's talk about those SSDs. So first of all, I've got my NVDIMM on my controllers. I have my active controller. I've got my passive controller. My active controller is kind of doing all the work. My passive controller is not sleeping though. It's keeping an eye on everything, right? It's always there if I want to do a firmware update. If I need to fail over, my array is not going to see any performance impact. I'm going to be level set. Then I have my DRAM space. My DRAM space is where all the magic happens, right? All my blocks come down here. I can go ahead and deduplicate. I can go ahead and compress. I can go ahead and encrypt my data, right? And then it puts all that data into a big stripe. It doesn't write anything until it gets that stripe full. So when I have a big stripe of data and I'm writing sequentially, what am I taking advantage of? I'm taking advantage of those slower spinning disks, right? I'm making them work at their best by throwing all those sequential stripes to them, right? What does the 7200 RPM drives do? They do sequential writes extremely well and extremely fast, okay? But some of my data is hot. Some of my data, my customer's going to need to read often, right? Maybe it's a database, maybe it's something else, right? That just needs a lot of performance. Well, of the blocks down here they're copying, there's a hash table, and that table is going to compare the blocks, and it's going to take all the hot ones and it's going to copy them over here to cache. So if your customer has a dynamic workload, right, that's coming in and all the time needing to read and access the storage, it's going to hit this SSD tier. It's not going to have to go to the disks. And this is where your performance is accelerated. So this is called Nimble's Castle architecture. It's been a big winner with customers for years and years and years. It's very, very popular. And now, we have our Electra 5000, which is a very inexpensive platform to hit that space where you want that dynamicness, but you don't necessarily have the budget to pay for it. Okay. All right, reads. Reads are a little less impressive, but you're going to come to the cache and the controllers. If it's not there, you're going to go to the DRAM space. If it's not there, you're going to go to the capacity space for cache. And if it's not there, you're going to come out to the data layer, right? So you have a tiered architecture. It's going to go if the data is hot, if the data is fast, and it's been used readily, you're going to pick it from one of these spaces. If it's something that's a little older, it's going to take you a bit longer, but it'll come out here from this space. Again, I don't have any I don't have any customers complaining about performance. Just let you know how that underlying architecture works. Now, before we go on, I want to say again, I don't have a slide for this. Forgive me. Dedupe compression is inherent in this product, right? It's turned on. Oh, excuse me. Animation, I love it. You have deduplication, you have compression. You can turn on encryption at a software level on a volume. You can turn it off on a volume. You can turn off deduplication on a volume. You can leave it on. Compression, I would always recommend you leave on, but those are inherent functionalities. You also have snapshots. Nimble does snapshots very well, very quick. Okay. You also have replication. So all those features come with your Nimble Array. There's no extra licensing. It is all inclusive. So with Nimble for our sizing, we're going to use a standalone application called Ninja Stars. So Ninja Stars, you actually download, install. It's just a little zip file on your laptop, on your desktop. Here's a link to it. It's on the SAF portfolio. You go in to log into the partner portal, and you can go ahead and download it. When you open it, occasionally you'll see updates. You come in, you choose your array. You can see I have a 5030 chosen here, and the 5030 I chose a 42 terabyte storage block. Now, lots going on in this screen, right? Data compaction, right, is right here. I have it on 3:1. I can change that. It can be 2:1, right? It can be 1.5:1. If you know what your data compaction is, you can come in here and you can aggressively change it. No problem. I'm a conservative person. If I know a customer's not using security or not saving security videos, not saving any images, not saving any pre-encrypted files, I usually do about 2.5:1. But up here, there's a wizard you can go in and you can actually calculate your data reduction. If your customer comes to you and says, hey, I have 4 terabytes on SQL, I've got 20 terabytes on file, I've got 3 terabytes of images, you can actually go in there and it'll actually do all the calculation for you. So a very great tool. You can come up here and you change your connectivity. You come down here and remember we talked about the SSD. In comparison to the spinning disk, you can change your cache, right? Your goal for cache is 12 to 14%. You see here I have the 42 terabyte block. That's before RAID, before overhead, and I added this amount of cache on, and it got me 13%. So I always want to make sure my flash disks in comparison to my spinning disks are between 12 and 14%. That's important because you want that performance in there. You want that extra space. Now, if you're a customer that says, well, I absolutely have to have this SQL database or this file or whatever it is copied onto SSD, I have to have it there all the time. I understand it's just for reads, but I have to have it pinned there. Great, there's a pinning feature. If you come up here, you can click on that up arrow, you can click on the down arrow until you get to where you want on a capacity perspective, and it'll tell you, you want to keep your ratio, so you want to balance, right? How much you need here, how much you need there, and then you can come in here to this drop down and cache size, and you can adjust the quantity of SSDs in here until you make sure you're staying in that 12 to 14%. So you can actually pin volumes, very popular feature for customers. They like the idea. I'm not sure they do it. But we talk about it a lot, right? Hey, I got a 3 terabyte SQL database. I want to pin, the log files or whatever, right? You can come in here, you want to pin the whole thing. Fine. You come in here, you can pin it. You just add some more SSD cache in there and you balance out your workload. Again, we talked about connectivity. You can add extra drive shelves. Let's say your customer already has the max, or let's say they bought this with 126. You want to see how much more you need to sell them. You can come in and add a drive enclosure. It'll show you how much more you can add and how much capacity that is going to do. All right. Just checking for questions. So the store once is a backup appliance. I realize I'm kind of edging out, right? We're kind of branching out from arrays, but I wanted to bring this up because when the entry-level store once went away, people were sad. People were upset. I had people looking for it for over a year after it went away, and HP has finally brought it back. So what's a store once system? It's, first of all, this is based on the new Electra 4120, excuse me. And you have a sled of drives, and then you can go ahead and add a second sled of drives. This is a backup appliance. It's running the Store Once operating system, and it has 3 functionalities for backup. You could back up to it as a NAS target. You could back up to it as a virtual tape library. I'm dating myself. Anybody on the phone with me? Right? Or what I would recommend is you can back up to it as a Catalyst target. Catalyst is HP's own technology. They've built a ton of deduplication technology into it, a bunch of mobility technology. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, in a larger environment, maybe I not only want to do deduplication on the Store One side, maybe I also want to install an agent and do it on my server side. So I'm only sending deduplicated data across the network, right? So lots of different capabilities with Catalyst. Catalyst allow me to replicate from site A to site B. It does the data moving of that data. So intelligently, one store once knows the data is coming because Catalyst is managing it. So that's just a protocol. I think my favorite part of Catalyst is that it's a unique protocol. It's unique to HPE. It's unique to the Store Once systems. So it's very hard for a ransomware attack. It's very hard for ransomware to be like, oh, Catalyst. No, it's a foreign technology to them, right? So if I have, let's say, Veeam, I can go in and set up my Store Once systems for backup, and I can actually turn on immutability because Veeam supports that with the Store Once platform. There's a whole compatibility list. Guess where? Out on Spock that you can look at to see what different backup ISVs support the Store Once. But it's a nice packaged appliance solution. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because people end users that I deal with, they love appliances, right? If you look at the Fed and SLED space, they were the most disappointed. HP's never gotten rid of their Store Onces, but they got rid of their entry model. So the entry model, HP just announced, we can quote it today, right? Scalable from 18 terabytes, it's going to have a really attractive price point, is the 3720. And when we're talking about small business, if you deal in the Fed space, if you deal in the SLED space, believe it or not, these were uber popular. And for the past couple years, we've had customers looking for these small appliance solutions when we didn't have them. And HP finally said, you know what? We're going to give them back to you. So I'm excited about the new Store Once launch. It's the 3720. It's their Gen 5 series. I just wanted to let you know it's out there. If you haven't taken a look at Store Once, it's a great little appliance. On that Ninja Online website that I have linked out there for the MSA, any day now. I keep looking. It was supposed to be the end of August. Maybe they're waiting until the very end. There's going to be a Store Once sizer. It'll show you the different new models. It'll show you the capacity. It should be there any day. But the Store Once backup appliances, again, a nice backup solution you can put in your customer's environment. It respects the data capacity because it has inherent hardware deduplication. It's supported with all the major ISVs. It can connect Ethernet. It can connect fiber channel. It's just a really cool unit. And even at this small unit size, it's scalable, right? You saw that second sled. We can install the rest of those drives. We can go ahead and expand. And again, it hits a price point that your customers at that entry space are really going to love. But I just wanted to bring it up because I just feel like we've had this hole a bit for a few years now, and I just wanted to tell everybody and kind of scream from the rooftops, hey, the Store Once, we now have the small baby model again, which is great. Tape, don't sigh. I love tape. Tape's a great backup solution, and although we may not sell tape every day, all your cloud guys are buying it all the time, right? They've got rows and rows and rows of it in their data center because that's how they're protecting data. But for that smaller customer, it might also be a great fit, right? So for that small customer that's looking to protect their data, why is it critical? Because small customers that experience an outage, sometimes their businesses don't thrive after that. Sometimes they just end up bankrupt, right? So why not go ahead and protect their environment? We've got a bunch of small solutions. I even left a little bigger one in there. This one scales and stacks together, but it's super popular and super well priced. But we have our tape drives. We have our 1x8 loader, which means it holds up to 8 tapes, right? It has an arm in there, which moves the tape in and out of the tape drive. We've got our MSL 2024 tape library, which holds up to 2 drives and up to 24 slots. And then again, we've got our bigger stackable 3040, which goes up to 48 drives. I just can't even imagine. But I just wanted to talk about the tape portfolio. I wanted to remind you that tape is still a very viable solution. It has a 30-year shelf life, right? So when you're looking for long-term data protection, you're going to keep those tapes in an environment that's dry and that's cool. Then really it's going to be a long-term environment option for your customer, especially if your customer has compliances they need to go ahead and abide by. If they have large files like images and stuff like that, there's software today where they can actually use the tape drive like a directory, right? They could be using the software HPE ships free with the library to go ahead and just save files sequentially right after another and be able to go back and retrieve them. So some really cool technologies have come out in the past, I'd say 5 years plus, with tape. LTO9 is our current tape drive. Okay, 18 terabytes native capacity, up to 45 terabytes compressed, right? That's with the 1.5 to 1. But all in all, the LTO9, it's a recent launch. It is 50% more capacity than LTO8, same size. Just a cool tape drive. That's just a picture of one. I just wanted to mention it. Remember, tape is designed for reliability and long-term data protection and retention. Remember, all tape can do hardware encryption. It's got a 33, we talked about 30-year shelf life. So there's just, it's a cool thing. Tape verticals, media, entertainment, digital surveillance, education, electronic records, medical, cloud storage. Again, I just want to go ahead and bring it up. We're talking about small business. Sometimes small business wants something that they can really put their hand on and go, okay, I'm protecting myself. I know I am because I've got it here in my hand. And then we have our smart choice. Now we can look at the second line. So we can skip the first line this time. And then here's a bunch of smart choice options. We have all these smart choice options in stock from tape perspective. They're priced extremely well. Bundle some stuff in there, and they're still less expensive than putting a solution together. So go ahead and consider the smart choice options next time you're going to go ahead and buy a tape solution. And we're here to help you with that. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. I hope this was helpful. I just wanted to go ahead and make sure we always keep in mind that small business segment of the market. We keep in mind, that HPE's got solutions to fit every size of business, every size of end user, and Ingram is always here to help you navigate the waters of which product's appropriate. We can configure it, we can size it, we can enable it. So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions? All right, with that, you guys all have a great Tuesday.